What's going on, boys? It's raining outside. It's absolutely pissing down with rain on this tin shed. I thought I'd use this opportunity to continue working on the engine over here because I really need to try and get that crank pulley bolt off so I can then remove the timing belt and start tearing down the engine. Generally people do it with the engine still in the car and they use the starter motor, but that isn't an option for me because the engine's out of the car. So what I've read that we can do is take off the sump, jam a piece of wood in between the crank and the block, and that way when we loosen the bolt, the engine won't turn over. So this will also be a good opportunity to take off the sump and show you guys a bit of the damage. So this is the moment of truth. I've loosened all the bolts. I'm just going to lay this down here. It looks to be alright. The sump is dented, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. Whether or not I'm going to put like a different sump on it, or if I'll just run with that, just because, you know, we're already going to be spending a lot on this car anyway. So there is all shit all in the pickup, which isn't ideal. Essentially, cylinder 1 has been starved of oil. There was all shit and metal in the oil capillary. Capillary? I don't know if that's what the fuck it's called. I think it's a capillary, oil capillary. I don't know, but pretty much the channel in the crank that allows oil to flow through each cylinder. So in cylinder 1 that was actually blocked with shit and metal. So cylinder 1 was pretty much being starved of fuel. That in turn led to bearing failure. So pretty much in my ownership, in my short time owning this car, all the metal within that oil channel of cylinder 1 became dislodged and sent itself all throughout the engine, causing the rod knock and fucking up the bearing of cylinder 1 and a few other things. But I hope that the cylinder walls are all fine. I hope that the crank can be reused. I'm going to make sure all the oil channels are clear and they're not blocked this time. Alright guys, so I have a hammer wedged in between the crank and the block. I'm not really sure if this is how you do it, but we're going to give it a shot. So I actually have this big fuck off breaker bar. It is absolutely huge. It's just like some big random steel rod. Alright. Oh, I heard it crack. Sick. When in doubt, bring the breaker bar out. I'm roughly 6'2", and this thing is like, it's got to be at least 6 foot tall. So, actually I lie. I don't even know how tall I am. I am above 6 foot though, and this thing is probably is about as tall as you, George. It's only some people will get that. Oh fuck, I don't know how to get this hammer out. At least I can ratchet this off. What I have done is I had to put the crank pulley bolt back in. That way I could rotate the engine to top dead center. And then I obviously took it out again, so the crank bolt's no longer in there. So the engine is now at top dead center, where piston 1 is right at the top of its stroke. How I've managed to do that, so if you have a look here, I don't know if you guys will be able to see, but there is a little mark there just right above the 0 mark on the timing cover. So that you're supposed to line that up on the crank pulley to that 0. Yeah, so you can see that there are also similar marks on the timing cover, right there and there, which also line up with the cam gears, with the marks on the cam gear. So this engine is now in top dead center. So now all I need to do really is just wait for the crank pulley removal tool to arrive in the post, so I can get that off, and then I'll be able to take off the timing cover, the bottom end of the timing cover, and then the timing bolt, and then take off the head and get that to the machine shop as soon as possible, so that way I know where I'm at, if I need new cams, and so I can order all that stuff in before I start delving into the bottom end, because I was really anticipating that the top end would be pretty good. But that is unfortunately not the case. So just because Australia Post is Australia Post, they lost my pulley remover tool. Pretty typical of them. So with much deliberation and hesitation, I actually decided to take 2 crowbars to the pulley, and I was actually able to remove it without damaging the pulley any more than it was already damaged. So I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there is a few chunks taken out of it. I'm not really sure if this will have any negative impacts on the motor. Again, it's a question that I'll have to ask the forums, but if it will cause problems, I would like to replace this as well. So as you guys can see, we've got the bottom timing cover off as well. I did manage to break it, unfortunately. So over here there is this little bit of the timing cover that is held in with a screw that I completely didn't see, but I will hopefully just super glue this back onto the timing cover, so it's no big deal. But yeah, just be wary about that screw. The plastic was just brittle, so I applied just a little bit of force to it and it just snapped. So I've just marked off the timing belt in a few logical areas. So up the top here I've just gone over some markings up there and up there, and then down here on the crank there was a marker there, so I've just gone over that as well. Okay, so new plan of action. We're going to take the water pump off because that looks to be connected to the head still. And then we should be able to then remove the 12-point star sort of bolts. There's 10 of them in the head, which should allow us to take the head off. I don't think that I need to remove the cam gears, and this sort of shield is attached, looks like it's attached to the head. I'm just going with the flow. I'm learning as I go, so if there is something that I need to remove, I'm not going to force anything. If I have to remove it, I will. If I don't have to, then I won't. So guys, it looks like I'm actually going to have to take off the cams, because the water pump is coming to interfere with this shroud. So when I try and pull it out, it doesn't quite give me enough room to take it out. So if I take off the shroud, then it will be a much easier job to take off that water pump. So the cams are off, and I'd be lying if I said that they didn't rotate a little bit, because they were torqued down pretty hard, but that's okay. I put them back roughly where they were before, and I'm gonna get somebody to check over the timing anyway, because I don't think the timing was right to begin with. So something quickly to note is that there were actually pins in these holes, which are in the cams, if you can see there and there. So they were in the engine, but I didn't want to lose them, so they're like held in there magnetically, I think, and I just popped them into the cams, and I've labeled the intake cam and the exhaust cam. And now we can take off the shroud, and then hopefully we can take off that water pump. So the water pump is off. This hose around the back was being a bit of a bitch, and I still have to just disconnect it from the block, but I'll tackle that later. But it's off all in one piece, didn't manage to break anything. So now I reckon we can start taking off the head, loosen those bolts all in here, and then the head should just pop off. You know what? I'm gonna rip out George. Georgie's strong boy. Oh shit, that was easy. I really didn't expect it to be that easy.
I'm so nervous. I'm proper nervous. Okay. I don't know how bad this. Yo, actually, oh, the cylinder walls might actually be right.
Alright guys, so the head is off of the block and it's sitting down there. I am yet to check the condition of, like, on the underside of the head, because I'm just too keen to check out this block and show you guys what's wrong underneath. Everything actually looks to be okay. So cylinder number 1 is the main problem, and I think that's this one over here. I know which one it is looking at it from underneath the engine, but all the cylinder walls, they look okay. I mean, it could definitely use a machine and a hone, I think. But there is no massive, deep scratches or grooves in it. I have to make sure that they're all symmetrical and round, but the machine shop will do that for me. So these ones look all good. I'm assuming that one looks fine. Cylinder number 1 is my main concern, as I said before, but I'll only be able to really look at that once I take the piston out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip the engine over so I can have access to the sump, and I'll start disassembling the bottom end, and showing you guys what actually happened and why this engine fucked up. Alright guys, so I have the head off of the block, and I've just got both of my heads side by side there. And before I start jumping into taking out the rods and the pistons, I'm just gonna inspect the underside of the heads. I had a quick look. This is the one that was on the engine, and I had a quick look at the top of it. I could see the top of it before, and it seems the cams are a bit fucked, as we all know, but the bottom side seems to look alright. There's still got the head gasket in there, so let me take that off. This looks a bit worse for wear, but we're definitely not going to be using this. Again, we're going to replace it with an MLS Kinetic head gasket so they can go in the bin. But I think everything here can be fixed with a machine and a cleanse. It doesn't seem to be too bad. All the oil channels, that oil channel seems to be a bit blocked. So everything looks to be okay. I'm still contemplating whether or not to use this head or this head. This head, the underside of this head looks to be a bit hate going. There's some chunks taken out of it there. And things like that. So the cylinder walls look a little bit abused. Not the cylinder walls, sorry, like the fucking, I don't even know what this shit's called. But these areas here look a bit worse for wear. But there is some bulging of that oil channel there, or cooling channel I think it is. I don't really know if that will impact the decks. This is what it's called a deck. I don't know if that will impact the deck's structural rigidity. So last episode when I was talking about this hole here, which I thought was for the AC, Mark from the Aussie GT4 Owners Club actually corrected me, saying that that was purely for emissions and you don't really need it, and this block would be better off because it doesn't have it. But the underside of this block looks a bit how you going. Top side of this block looks a bit how you going. So I think I'm just going to use these cams in this block, because the underside of this block looks like the deck looks to be in much better condition than this one. Alright guys, so I've rotated the engine 180 degrees to get this end cap off of cylinder 1, and as you can see here, the bearing is pretty fucked, and the end cap is also pretty scored. I'll chuck some photos up on the screen from when the boys at Forza actually diagnosed this problem. Massive shout out to you guys, you were such an amazing help. And for anybody in Adelaide, if you have any queries or absolutely any issues with any Toyotas, they're Toyota specialists, so head down to Forza Moors. So essentially he found that obviously cylinder number 1, the bearing failed, so that's what causes the knocking. So he reckons that all the bearings have been recently replaced, and the con rods have either been repaired or resized. So I want to replace all these con rods because I have no clue what the hell is going on. So you can clearly see just by the discoloration of cylinder 1 in comparison to the rest of the other cylinders that there's been a severe lack of oil for cylinder 1, which also contributed to it throwing a bearing. So he reckons the cause as to why it's thrown a couple bearings in cylinder 1 is because the oil channel in the crank was actually blocked full of shit. So when I purchased the car, only a little bit of oil was getting through that channel, and they reckon that when I got it serviced or drove it hard, I didn't really drive it hard, but in my ownership, that whatever metals and shit was stuck in there actually became dislodged and sent itself throughout the engine. You can even see all in here, this all metal shavings all in the sump, absolutely everywhere. Even up here. So yeah, see, that's that's just not good at all. I don't know why I put it back to where it belongs. So I want to replace, as I said, I want to replace all these con rods because I have no clue what the hell is going on. I hope that the crank can be reused. So I'm just going to start disassembling the whole bottom end, taking everything out. I've got to take off the oil pump because I completely forgot about that. And then I will start to take off, I'll just take out the whole crank and the pistons and rods. Oh my fucking god. That is my first ever piston, boys. So this rod is from cylinder number 1, hence why it will probably look a bit shit, but they all sort of look similar. But if you have a look at where the end cap actually meets the rod, you can see that there's like resurfacing marks on it. So the boys at Forza More actually reckon that these have been like repaired or resized, and they haven't used the correct size bearings or something like that. It was just a really botched quick repair job, hence why I probably got the car for so cheap. But you live and you learn, I guess. On another note, it doesn't look like the rod is bent, but I am not going to be reusing these, so it doesn't really matter to me. So all of the pistons and rods and bearings are out except for this number 3 here. I'm not sure how to get this out. So this one is cylinder 1. It's pretty bad. It's probably the worst out of all of them, but that's to be expected purely because this is the cylinder that's giving us all the problems. Cylinder 2, a little bit of scoring, not too bad. Cylinder 3, same sort of story here. Cylinder 4, it's pretty perfect in comparison to the other ones, but still a little bit of scoring. So now that all the pistons are out, we can actually come and have a better look at all the cylinder walls. Again, everything, I stand by what I said before, everything looks to be in decent condition. Nothing that a hone and a machine and reboring of the cylinder walls can't fix. I don't believe so anyway. The experts might be able to tell me differently, but to the untrained eye, everything looks to be okay. But I guess we have to see how they measure up and all that sort of jazz. But I think overall, I lucked out, especially considering some of the other surprises I found. So that's the end of the video for today. I've managed to do a lot more than I ever anticipated. I never once thought I'd be ripping into an engine, starting a rebuild. But the engine's all bare. So next we're going to take both the block and the heads to the machine shop and see what they have to say about it. And then we can finally start ordering all the forged components, slapping it all together, and we'll be making 300 horsepower at the wheels in no time. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out. And remember to click that subscribe button if you want to keep up to date on this build. Cheers.